I don't want to stop dancing. All right. I would love to welcome everybody to the 24th annual Beyond School Hours grand finale with our fantastic host, Erika Petrelli. Erika is one of our absolute favorite presenters. We're so glad to have you, Erika. So right before you get started, I am going to announce the winners of the exhibitor bingo. I'm waiting for my colleague Paula to text them to me, and all you have to do is we'll contact you by email and we will send you your prize. So Joseph Raffa is the grand prize winner. Congratulations, Joseph.
Woo! Hey, Joseph. Woo, woo, woo.
We're so excited for you. I'm waiting on the next one. It's like very exciting. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Congratulations, Joe.
This is so suspenseful.
I know it is too. It's like the Oscars. And the winner is, I don't know who's next. Maybe the only winner we have today. I'll do the rest at the end. Go ahead, Erika. Let's get started.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And hi, everyone. We're so happy that you're here. We are just so excited to see all of you roll into the final session. And congratulations, you've made it to the end of what's been a packed, hopefully really impactful 2 days for you. So we hope that your brains are brimming with new ideas and deepening connections, even though they've been virtual connections. And so for our closing session today, we're going to be talking about agility and empathy in leadership as we round the corner towards the end of yet another remarkable school year. So hang on, my PowerPoint's being snoozy. So speaking of remarkable, I'm so excited to introduce you all to my daughter, Marlo, who's sitting here right next to me. Marlo is 12 years old. She's in 7th grade. And in addition to studying to be a DJ in her spare time, she's also perfecting the art of handwriting and creative note-taking, and also is the founder and director of a summer camp that she's run for a few days every summer out of our camp for the past 6 years.
And this is my mom, Erika.
Okay, so let's get settled into the session now. We were hoping you might have the chance to turn on your cameras and unmute yourself so that we could really have a rock concert feel today. But what you do have the option to do is chat in the chat box. And so we want to be loud in the chat box, please.
So we won't be able to catch everything you say, but we want you to be able to enjoy this final time to connect with each other before you all head home.
Yeah. Okay, so no matter where you are in the country, no doubt your programming has been impacted by the pandemic. Whether you're operating live, but constantly dealing with students and staff that are on quarantine, or you're operating virtually and you're continually having to creatively pivot your programming to the virtual reality, you've been impacted. And that's not even to mention the physical, mental, and emotional toll that the past year has had on all of us, no matter who you are or where you are.
So the question then, as educators, is what are we going to do about it? How can we expand our thinking and keep moving forward?
Well, I've got 2 words for you, Marlo, and that's agility and empathy. So that's it for me. When I think about agility, I think about having a sharp eye. And when I think about empathy, I think about having a soft heart. So for me, the way forward is just that, with a sharp eye and a soft heart.
Okay, Mom, that sounds great, but how do you actually do that?
Well, great question, Marlo. Let's talk about 10 ways to do that. So we're going to go through these one at a time during our time together, but here they all are right here for you now, which is to show gratitude for the past, to let go of what's weighing you down, to be curious and hold space for the answer, to think outside of your box, to believe beyond your limit, but start small, to write your own ending, but to understand that the map is not the territory, to treat love as a verb, and always, always celebrate what's to come.
Number 10 is so important. One way to have a soft heart is through gratitude, even gratitude for the past. So what we'd love for you to do right now is open up your goodie bag.
The goodie bag moment has arrived.
And take out the thank you card. If you don't have a thank you card, any piece of paper would work. So then also just when you have it, type in the chat box so that we can.
Yeah, we
Let
can't
us
see
know.
you. Let us know. A couple of you give us a thumbs up that you've got it. All right. I think they have it.
Okay, so do you have it? Great. Now on that thank you card, I want you to write a thank you note to yourself, showing gratitude for everything you've done to make it through since the pandemic. We're going to give you 2 minutes to write your gratitude letter. Don't hold back. You deserve so much thanks.
So 2 minutes, the timer is going to start now. Write yourself a thank you note. That was your 2 minutes. I love, a couple of you were asking about the timer. You know, for me, I just Google if I want sort of 2 minutes of meditation or 1 minute timer or 2 minutes with music on YouTube, and you can find a whole different variety of musical timed things to use with your students virtually. So I love that somebody asked for that in the chat box. So I hope that that 2 minutes actually went by really quickly for you, rather than you struggling to find things to say for yourself. So what we want you to do now is seal that letter up and put your name on the outside, and then put a note that says open in May, and then put it somewhere where you can find it again in May. If you're like me, you still have an old-fashioned paper calendar, so I could literally put my letter in the month of May. But if you don't, if you've actually joined the, you know, the virtual age, then just put it in a file or somewhere nearby that you can find it in May, when you may need some reminders of things to be grateful for in yourself. So what may have happened for you in that 2 minutes is that in addition to the thoughts of gratitude, what may have shown up for you were also some thoughts of anxiety or stress or fear or doubt or sadness, some of those things that we've also felt over the past year. And so the next thing we have to do for our soft hearts is to try and let go of what's weighing us down. So now we want you to grab those bubbles that are in your goodie bag. I'm going to give them to Marlo here, and open them up carefully. They're hard. It's such a little bubble box. So, okay, so open them up. Now, wait, if you're in a space that allows you to do this, we invite you to blow the bubbles. And imagine that each one of those individual bubbles is one of those anxious, we got bubble action happening here, one of those anxious or sad or negative thoughts. And then as you're able to, you can pop each one individually and say thank you to it as you watch it disappear. So really take a moment if you can, if you're in it, bubbles everywhere in this house too, Jennifer King. So I'm sorry to anyone who's going to get in trouble for that, but we really wanted to give you the moment to try with bubbles to let go of what's weighing you down. If for some reason you didn't get, you missed the swag box, you can do this exercise later on your own with bubbles. You can also do it by simply writing those anxious thoughts down on paper and crumpling them up and throwing them away. So we really wanted to give you that chance to just watch those anxious thoughts disappear.
Those anxious thoughts we just popped away are sometimes mixed in with our fears around the what ifs that we have no control over. But the antidote for that is to replace those what ifs that are to replace those what ifs with the what ifs that are born out of curiosity. And this is how we sharpen our eye. We look with curiosity for the amazing what ifs. The sharpest minds are the curious minds, and curiosity is fueled by questions. So, what questions do you have after this conference? Please take a moment now and write down at least 3 questions you have after attending the sessions this week.
So now is a great chance in a notebook, if you've been taking notes throughout the week, to look back on it, but to really ask at least 3 questions. What do you want to learn more about? Who do you want to talk to more? What do you want to follow up with? So really write those down, and we'd love to see some of those in the chat box as well. When you say it out loud, you're really opening up your curiosity in a genuine way. So make sure that you get those questions down now. And thank you, Marie. That's such a nice thing to say. She is pretty amazing as well. Any questions? I want to see some in the chat box. Because if you're writing it down, you have a greater chance of truly seeking the answer for it. You know, that slide said, be curious and hold space for the answer. So really naming it opens up your curiosity. So curiosity is so important, and genuine curiosity, that kind that holds space for the answer, that awakens us to wonder, is really an amazing tool for sharpening our eye. So in addition to being curious, agility, to keep our agility in our programming and our leadership, we really need to continually push ourselves to think outside of the box of our own limitations. So there's a guy that I love that some of you might be familiar with. His name is Harris III. He's a magician, and he's also the founder and creator of both a community and a conference called Story. It's based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and he also wrote this book that came out earlier this year called The Wonder Switch. Anyway, if you don't know Harris, check out his work and the Story community, because it's really remarkable. Anyway, he says, he talks about pushing us to think about it as believing is seeing, rather than the traditional notion that seeing is believing, meaning only when we believe something can we truly start to see it. And the more we believe in something, the more of it we see all around us. So the question for you now is, where are you keeping yourself in a box of your own limitations? Where are you limiting yourself because you're waiting to see it and then you're going to believe it? So how can you push yourself with curiosity to think outside of a box?
You remember what Einstein said? He said that logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will take you everywhere. You know, I think sometimes we have to act as if the thing we want is already true. Use our imagination to actually visualize what we want to turn into reality. So why not take your Post-it notes out of your goodie bag now and imagine even one thing that is bigger than your current reality. One thing that you want to push yourself and your team to achieve before the year is over. And then write that one thing on a Post-it note as if it is already true. For example, If you want to create 2 new virtual offerings for your students this spring, you could write, our after-school program is known for having the best variety of a virtual programming in the region. Take 30 seconds now and write your bigger than true thing. And if you have time, write it on more than one Post-it note.
So we're not going to be able to see these Post-it notes, so we can't hold you to doing this task right now that Marlo just asked you to do. But if you can imagine an as-if scenario, we'd love to see it in the chat box then. I love bubbles too, so thank you for that. So on your Post-it note, what are you believing to be true? What can you say? Write it in the chat box so we can see some of those. We will have the best comeback face-to-face summer program. Yes, Bonnie, I love that. We will have the best. What's so great about how Bonnie wrote it is just the way Marlo did in her example, is that you claim it as if it's already true. It's already the reality that's happening to you. Anyone else want to add one? One of your as-ifs, we'd love to see them. We will be more prepared now than more than ever for how to handle or manage a crisis. Absolutely, Julia and Kid Grit, and welcome. We will increase excitement and engagement in all activities. Our school principal loves us so much that he allows us to use most of the school building after school. Hallelujah, as if you believe it, and then suddenly there's more than just the hallway available to you. These are fantastic. I believe that policies will be passed that make the after-school workforce stronger. See, these are fantastic. Believe it to see it. You have to believe it to see it. Believe it first. Yes, these are fantastic ones coming up. And so that is this idea of really believing beyond your limit. I think this conversation is so important, and keep them coming in the chat box, because like Marlo said, we can't catch everything in the chat, but you can, you should be having side conversations all the way through the session. It's so important for us to push ourselves outside of the limits of our own limited thinking, and really past the limits of our imagination, so that we believe beyond our current reality. All of these things that are showing up in the chat box so quickly are believing as if. It's believing in order to see it. So that kind of big thinking, though, can be a little bit overwhelming. It can almost paralyze us and be like, well, I don't even know where to start, right? I don't even know where to start. So while we're thinking big, it's important for us to also remember to start small. So we can't have sharp eyes or soft hearts without action. So how do we prime ourselves into action? I believe it's with baby steps, it's with small steps. And one way to start small, my PowerPoint is so sleepy today. It doesn't want you to stop believing beyond your limit, is to make your bed. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard this piece of advice before in a number of different settings, and it's one that I think is a really important one. At the beginning of the day, one way that we can start small is at the beginning of the day, we can make our bed. Seriously, make the bed. Even if the bed that you're currently sleeping in is a couch that you're crashing on, or it's just a blanket side by side with somebody else, making the bed, or the figurative version of that, helps change our psyche for the entire day, because it gives us a win to start the day. So something as simple as taking that first step in the day, get your brain into action and active thinking, which sets you up for success towards those bigger, beyond your reality thinking. I am curious if any of you have other make your bed daily habits or practices that follow the same line of thinking. That if you start small, if you do something every day in the beginning, it gets your brain into action. Does anyone else have anything else that they want to share in the chat box that's kind of like a make your bed moment? Wash your face, Hillary, absolutely. There's a thing too about that sort of consistent small thing. Take 5 minutes to frame your day and consider your energy, workout, coffee, one full glass of water, coffee. I think I'm selectively seeing, because I just see coffee everywhere. I'm drawn to what I do in the morning as well. Absolutely everything that you're saying. And if you are watching the chat box, collect ideas if you don't try any of these, or if you don't currently have sort of that morning, this is what I do first and then next, collect some of these ideas from the chat box, because really it's silly as it seems, the simple small things that we do to start our day set us up for the success in the big things that we're trying to achieve when we're pushing ourselves beyond our limits. So thank you for sharing those really wonderful daily ritual small ideas. All right, so a number 4 tip is taken from one of my favorite childhood books, which is Harold and the Purple Crayon. If you remember the book, I always have it nearby. Harold takes his trusty crayon, purple crayon, to draw his reality. And when he happens to draw himself into a situation that he doesn't want to be in or doesn't like, he just keeps drawing himself into a new scene and a new scene until he draws his way eventually back home in his bed where he wants to be. So in your goodie bag, you all have a purple marker. If you're one of the people that did not receive a goodie bag, you're a lucky one in this moment because you can now go purchase your own purple writing tool, the one you want. It could be a pen, a marker, a crayon, a colored pencil. It just has to be purple. The purple is the important part because it will signal your brain, hey, I need to be creating something here. So for those of you that have it now, I just encourage you, if you haven't already been using it today, to take it out and to keep it close by, keep it near your workspace. The reason to keep it close by is to remember, let it be a reminder to you of that quote, that we cannot go back and change the beginning, but we can start where we are and write a new ending. So just as Marlo asked us a few moments ago to write some as-ifs, kind of dream beyond our current reality and believe what can be true, I want you to keep fueling that part of your brain, but with your purple marker now, with more Post-its if you have it or other paper if you want, to now on a new Post-it note to write a new ending, a grand ending for yourself of how you want your school year to end, for yourself, for your team, for your students. What's a grand new ending? Write that with your purple marker right now. And if you want to add some more of these great ideas in the chat box, please do so. We'll give you a moment to do that. New friends, I love it. Part of the new ending is the same thing happens with the as if, is that that believe it in order to see it. When you believe that it's possible, then you start to see the avenues to make it actually a reality. You see the pathways, you see the opportunities that don't show up if you're not believing it to begin with. So that's a really important reason to write your own ending. How is this school year going to go for you? Does anyone want to add any others? Meeting recruitment numbers, that is some tricky business this year for a lot of us because we have our grant requirements and then we have pandemic reality. And so it's been really interesting to try to meet those target numbers this year for sure. And I don't think we ever thought our tool belt of tricks and techniques and strategies could be as big as it is now. Absolutely, these are fantastic. I hope we're saving this chat because the amazing amount of ideas that are coming are so great. Believe it in order to see it, right? So now, while we are writing our grand endings, it's also important for us to remember that the map is not the territory.
What the heck does that mean?
Well, okay, you know how when you are trying to go somewhere and you plug your destination in your phone and the GPS gives you directions, right? Mm-hmm. Or, shocker, if you have an old-fashioned map and you actually say, look, I'm trying to go there, and it tells you where to go, right?
Yeah.
But then you know how you actually get on the road, and sometimes it's different, like there's construction or there's traffic or there's an accident. Mm-hmm. Then you have to change your route, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the map are the plans we make. It's the ending that we write. It's the dreams that we dream. But the territory is what actually happens when we get on the road. So it's so important for us to remember that the plans are there, our believing and acting as if are there to set us on the path. And then it's up to us to navigate the actual twists and turns of the path when we're on the road itself. And to me, that's agility right there. That takes a sharp eye for sure. I see a couple hands up. So in case we have questions in this moment, I'm going to pause and see if Marilyn, Bonnie, or Tracy, who have hands up, want to ask a question in the chat box. We are happy to answer. I'm sorry if those hands have been up for an hour and I missed it. Some hands are going down. Okay. You can feel free to ask any questions in the chat box at any moment, even if they are from 3 slides ago. So the map is not the territory for me has always been a good reminder, because otherwise we can get caught up in the, well, why bother writing my own ending, or why bother acting as if, because this day didn't go any way the way I planned it. That's just the way it goes. But when we set our intentions and when we set our plans in place, we're really much better prepared for the actual territory, no matter what it brings to us. Any thoughts on that before we move on? You can absolutely write them in the chat box.
Let's get back to empathy and having a soft heart. I love this idea that love is a verb.
I love it too. I really love it. What does it mean to you?
Well, to me, it basically means that love is in your actions. It's the way you treat people, the way you listen to them and talk to them, the things you do for them. I don't just love, I show love.
Yes, 100% yes. This is the agape love, the love as a service. Love is a choice that I make in every action that I take. I think this is such an important thing for us to touch on today, because every act of love softens my heart and increases my empathy, right? So what do you all think? Let's hear of some examples, because sometimes this is a concept that's one of those that we agree with in theory, but it's hard to figure out what are the actions here? What are you talking about? So I would love to hear some of your examples of ways that you show love in action or show love as a verb. If you want to write them in the chat box, we'd love to hear them. Being honest, great. Listening. People on the street, yes, being kind, showing staff appreciation, being respectful, cooking, sacrifices, paying it forward, providing, random acts of kindness, taking my 92-year-old mom on a walk, smiling. These are so great. These are such great examples. Being patient, talking to kids, not at them. I just saw like the son texting the mom that it was slippery outside and saying to be careful. Love shows up in the most remarkable ways, and in the smallest ways. And I love these examples that are showing up for you to give back to us, because it is such an important thing to remember that love exists in those million small things every day. We talk about having a sharp eye is really important, and that sort of visionary thinking that we're talking about is so important. But having a soft eye allows us to think in that visionary way. So we'll never get the agility or the sharp eye without the soft heart. And for me, the fastest way to that soft heart is through this idea of love as a verb. So now you've been giving us a million ways that love is a verb, but I want you to take a pause moment, and with your pen or your purple marker or your Post-it, make a list. This is a love list, okay? So make a list of all the people, places, things in your life that you feel love for right now. So people, places, and things, make a list right now. Anything, any person that comes into your mind, make a love list right now. Whoever pops into your head, this is just for you. You're not gonna have to share this with us. Okay, next thing is to look so look at the list, the people, the places, the things. Now you've just gotten dozens of ideas on ways that we show love as a verb. So specifically next to each of those people, places, and things, what is one thing that you can do today to show that person, place, or thing love? What's one action you can take? Write that down next to that person, place, or thing, please. And then if you're so willing, let's hear a couple things. You don't have to say specifically, but you can say, I'm going to. What are some specific things? Let's hear a few more of those in the chat. If we name it, we're more likely to do it. Shonda, thank you for the connecting more often. Continue to affirm your staff and students, Alexandria, is so important. Send a text and let them know you're thinking of them. In fact, some of you have been in sessions with me where I've had you do that in the session. So it didn't come from me this time. One of your fellow participants recommended it. I love that as an action. So those of you that have your phone next to you, if you've got someone that you just wrote down their name and you have their number in your phone, send them a text while we're finishing up. We don't mind. Morning text checks or right now text checks. Dust and tidy up. These are great. So just as we're thinking about agility and empathy with leadership, it may seem that small act of kindness or love that you're doing to your community or somebody in your family does not connect to the work that you do at your workplace. And we assure you that it absolutely does. Because when you're softening your heart in one direction, you're softening it in all directions. So I love that those of you that are sending texts to your friends right now. So thank you for that. Okay, so our number one tip for keeping a sharp eye and a soft heart is, well, it's to always, always, always remember to celebrate.
There really is always something to celebrate, isn't there?
In this house, there is, so we talked about earlier how believing is seeing, and those grand endings that you want to create for yourself. So the question, I guess, is to really get that picture in your mind of what do you want to create and believe for yourself and your program this school year, and really picture it in your mind right now. So picking a picture of something in your mind, and
now take out your birthday candle in your goodie bag. And if you have a match or a lighter nearby, go and grab it.
All right, we're gonna give you a 10-second dash time to go find a lighter, a match, a something. And if you didn't get a goodie bag, to scramble to find any kind of candle in your house. Any candle will do. Yeah, so hang on. When you have it, hold it up. We'd like to believe that we're all holding up candles. I was telling Marlo before we got on how those of us of a certain age used to go to concerts, and when there's a love song, we would do this. She thinks we were crazy. But we did do that. And so anyway, those of you that remember that can, do this. But that's not what we're celebrating now, the 80s. What we're celebrating is this picture of you, the future you, the picture that you are celebrating in your mind of the grand new ending, that new ending that you wrote with your purple crayon. We started today by thanking the past you. So we want to make sure that we end today by celebrating the future you, really celebrating what you can do. So we're going to get that picture in your mind and go ahead and light your candle if you have one.
Okay. So on the count of 3, we're all going to blow out our candles together. 1, 2, 3.
Yay! All right. Congratulations, future you. We celebrate you. And yes, there is just absolutely always a reason to celebrate. So do not forget that in your home and in your workplace. And so now it's time to blast off, right? To the possibilities of what's next and what's next for you. And I have to say, I cannot imagine a better way to remind ourselves of this idea of believing our way into seeing than this moment from yesterday.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars, ready to begin seeking the sands of past life.
Woo, I don't know about you guys. I hope you had the chance to watch that yesterday. But there is something about that just is all we need to say about this idea of agility and empathy. I teared up too, Ross. It was really something. So with Perseverance, an aptly named rover is that we need to continue to strive towards agility and empathy.
So here are the 10 tips again for you to review or take a screenshot of.
Yes,
So
take a
I'm gonna
screenshot of it.
Read them through for you. Show gratitude for the past, then let go of what's weighing you down. Be curious and hold space for the answer. Think outside of your box. Believe beyond your limit, but start small by making your bed. Write your own ending, but understand the map is not the territory.